Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A CloudFoundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
When we talk about the statement of work in simple terms, we need to understand that in our understanding capability, we can clearly make out that SOW is a sort of implementation process. The business organization will be having no idea about the process parameters and the work that needs to be delivered by the consultant. It's only the deliverables. It's only the deliverables they know. They know the end result. The company knows the end result and they just need the end result. However, they don't just sit idle until the end point arrives. They will be reviewing. They will be reviewing on a consistent basis, on a constant time interval, or consistently. They will be monitoring the project. That's why it's the deliverables and the milestones that are set there. It's a formal document. What SCO means? It's a formal document. It's a contract that captures and defines the work activities, deliverables, timeline. A vendor must execute in performance of specified work for the customer. It is just a contract that explains what needs to be done. Out of this, we can monitor the budget to the SOW. We can track the headcount for each SOW. There will be a whole lot. For example, if it is a FiledGlass implementation, the service company says that this is what the requirement is. This is what the human resource is. This is what the software that we require. On and forth. We can track that. Time will be submitted through FiledGlass climate expense. We can track that. Time will be submitted through FiledGlass climate expense. We'll take the contract dates as well as the workers' dates. The worker under SOW, each one will be having a work order created. But once they onboard, work order will be created. In the process of onboarding, a work order will be created. We can ensure the change control processes are followed. In the sense, if there is any changes as such, we can incorporate that and it will be applicable for the list of contractors that are working. Invoices can be automated. These are the advantages that we see out of SOW. The important terms are like in SOW types. These are defined. This defines the setting, rules and characteristics in the sense. SOW view types is the option where we are going to configure the SOW. That's the starting point to configure the SOW. That's where the complete setting rules and characteristics for individual purchasing characters will be incorporated. Then the SOW templates. We spoke something about SOW template yesterday. We are gonna complete that today. Clauses, what does that mean? The legal terminologies, company-wide specifications on. Clauses, just explains the legal terminologies for that region and company's requirement. company's requirement in the sense company's legal requirement. It's not the legal terminologies for that region. Management events. These are like as I said, they're gonna review every now and then. They're not gonna just sit idle. That someone is looking into it. We don't have to worry until the end. They'll review. Those kind of meetings, reviews can be considered as management events. Even the requirement gathering sessions the service company conducts with the clients can be considered as management events. And schedules. Schedules are like if they want to pay, if they decide to pay on a regular basis, say for a month or for a quarter or on, irrespective of what's been delivered by that time, then schedules are maintained. And for each SWO, the maximum budget can be maintained. The maximum budget can be maintained in the master SOW. That is a master contract. By that, we can even create the child contract. When we create the child contract, it inherits the data from the master. Events are like to be the deliverables that they have decided. When it should start, for example, if it is implementation, project preparation, planning and preparation, business blueprint, and then requirement gathering, and then the business blueprint on. These are the events. These are considered as the events fees. Fees includes the bill, the amount, it also includes the assets that's being provided for that particular project. And then the SWE workers. The service company will be adding the SWE workers into this. Once they're good with the terms, this is the typical workflow of S. Refx can be done within FiledGlass. Even they can do it outside the FiledGlass. They can do it in Ariba or they can do anywhere outside the FiledGlass and then create this. That's one of the options. The other one is this is the complete overview of the workflow. FX is called as a request for a proposal or request for quotation. X can be replaced with any letter. The request for quotation is like they're going to give the requirement. A company is going to give the requirement to a service company and service company evaluates it and quotes. This ARCs can be distributed in numerous companies, service companies, and then they're going to review it. It's PMO the approval. If they have got something like MISP, managed service providers, if it is outsourced to manage the hiring process, then it's gonna PMO who's gonna approve it and the suppliers will submit the responses. Then the evaluation process goes and there will be numerous responses out of it. They're gonna select one best. By that they create the S. If there is any negotiation as such, they're gonna go ahead and do that on top of it and then accept this. Supplier will accept this. Once accepted, it will be approved by the PMO and onboarding process begins. Of course, we'll submit the time and expense if it is enabled, or the suppliers will mark it as complete. In the sense, these are the deliverables. These can be set as milestones. If it is just the events, or if it is, as I explained, if it is the events or schedules, according to the schedules, they're gonna pay. Or with respect to the events, they're gonna pay. Under events, we even have got the milestones, the completion of milestones. Once the milestones are completed, they're gonna release the payments. It needs to be marked by the supplier, by that the company, the contracting company, gonna approve it and submit the invoices. The invoices once approved, the invoices will be generated. The invoices will be generated, it's the supplier in the supplier interface. The invoices will be generated. The same invoices will be visible in the buyer's interface as well. Buyer's interface, it will be integrated. The invoices will be pushed to the other systems. Finally, it has to go to ERP, and then the matching process begins against the POPAR, and then the accounts payable will pay it. When once paid, the same thing will be updated back to the field class. These are the typical This is a comprehensive overview of the workflow. This is something which we have to understand about the SOW templates. How SOW templates are established. It starts with master SOW. The purpose for this master SOW is to give the buyer the ability to create a master contract with the supplier. The master contract include all the agreed upon contractual terms that will be in effect. The master SOW is created throughout each child SOW, if at all. The master SOW is not a transaction document. Master SOW is just a master confine. Once the master SOW is created, the child SOW needs to be created. Master SOW forms a very important factor. Master SOW with respect to each project needs to be created. Template is something which is a generalized view of a master SOW. Template is something which consists of everything as per the buyer's requirement. Out of it, they can carry that to create the child SOW. While creating the child SOW, if they want to edit something, they can do that as per the configuration. Master SOW can include, it's not must and should, can include clauses, management events, fees, and SOW workers. It can, but it's not must and should. But yes, normally clauses. The clauses are maintained because clauses will be the regional law as well as the company's requirement, company's law. The clauses will be maintained as it is. Management. Events might differ based upon the project. Fees might differ based upon the project and the SOW workers. In the template, we are going to maintain much, and while creating the master sword, they can add on all this stuff. Once created out of it, many child sword can be created. A standard template, see when it comes to the master SOW template. We just need very less configuration. Very less configuration is required. When it comes to the CBU that inherits the data from the master template, the custom templates can also be built. Custom templates that can be copied from the master SOW template and customized. Whenever we are creating the master SOW, it's like we are gonna incorporate all the common set of configuration there. By that, SASVO can inherit the data. CV will normally be dependent on the master SOW template. The SOW, we have got two types, master SOW and child SOW. We have also got something called standalone SOW. A standalone SOW is something which you have to create from scratch. It will not be dependent on the master SOW template. However, if we enable the option to copy from any of the master or child SOW that can be copied from standalone data, the data that is residing in the master or child SOW template can be copied for the standalone SOW. A standalone SOW will be used. Because if it is something right away from the master's WooTem template that's been created, the templates that's been created all together in the system, then we use the standalone SOW. While we are creating the master SOW, we need to make sure that how we segregate amongst if it is single template or if we are doing a multiple template creation in the master. If it is a single template, if it is required for just one country where they are using very minimal amount of usage, where they are giving very narrow scope to the field class. Some companies doesn't need much of a use of SOW module. Some companies might extensively use SOW module. When a company is not utilizing the SOW module much, a single template is fair enough for them. A single master template would be fair enough if that is configured out of it, they can create the shell templates using those. Whereas when they are extensively using the SOW module, we need to have multiple templates based upon the countries, based upon the different roles, on and forth. By that, we need to have multiple templates. In fact, as I explained, there are two factors. One is the countries and the other one is the classification. Classifications are like different kind of projects that they are looking upon. Again, there is something called commodity code. There is something called commodity code in ERP. There will be various commodity codes. However, it's only the commodity code that is required for service procurement will be maintained in the FiledGlass. I'm going to show you what is happening within the system. I'm just explaining you where before we go there. Characteristics. When it comes to the characteristics, no doubt we spoke about this yesterday, SOW worker. It is supplier who is going to identify and load the worker, attach the worker to the SOW. We can make it mandatory or optional, but recommended to make it mandatory. I have taken an example of SOWIT consulting template because that is quite familiar for us, and SOW hardware and networking template. Hardware and networking is one of the domain, one of the projects. I would say third-party services is another one. When it comes to third-party services, we can keep it optional because it is completely third-party who is doing it. Even the buyer is not going to review what is happening in the sense, what is completed, what is not. It's like a support project. I would say they're going to review the performance, but it's not the performance on which the payments are processed. These are called third-party services, or I would say, for example, FieldGlass from FieldGlass, the services will be rendered. It's not any service company who is implementing it, it's FieldGlass, SAP FieldGlass all together. They're going to render the service. We don't know from who is from SAP working. You write the ticket to SAP FieldGlass. Somebody picks it up and works on it. We don't know who does that. Someone as a customer representative will be assigned to any of the companies. You go to any of the companies here. One of the person will be assigned to look into things for some of the companies. He will be the face for that client. We don't need those information. We don't know who is picking up the ticket. We don't know who is the face. Even if we don't know who is the face, that's not matters. We should be knowing it, but the viewer doesn't need to know. Those kind of services are called as third-party services. We spoke about this. Events management events. I did it there. I have done this because let's not waste time management events or deliverables based on which the payments will be made to the supplier. It is indirectly linked with the payment to the supplier. Now, when it comes to schedules, we discussed about this. It's the understanding between the buyer and the supplier based on which some scheduling for payment will be done. This is different from the events. Events are like when once certain milestones or work is completed, events, whereas when it comes to schedules, it is like flat monthly or quarterly or bimonthal payments. Fees is the understanding between what is the fee that needs to be paid, the rate that needs to be paid. That's the fee. The fee should be utilized whether it is schedule or whether it is management events. Management events has nothing to do with payments. Events and templates will be highly specific in nature. Templates will be highly specific in nature because the templates are used for specific reasons for specific projects. A support project template cannot be used for the implementation project. Yes, an implementation project cannot be used for a third-party support project. It doesn't make sense and hence it is very specific. Here what we do for the specifications, we make sure the characteristics, S40 characteristics alone can be kept as mandatory. The rest can be optional. We recommend that. However, if the company wants it to be something else, we can do that as well. When it is a highly specific characteristic, needs to be mandatory. When it is general in nature, we can make it even S40 characteristics as optional. General or specific, that needs to be known to the user who is using the templates. The custom fields can be added. The custom fields are very important. You know that is based upon the buyer's requirement. Based upon the buyer's requirement, we can add the custom fields. No doubt we have got most of the requirements in the Just give me a minute. We will be having most of the field built in. Those are built-in fields from FieldGlass, and on top of built-in fields, we have got something called the custom fields. Custom fields is something which we are creating while we are implementing as per the buyer's requirement. When, for example, by default FieldGlass might give a field called SOID, the single sign-on ID, however, companies might use the other IDs for the credentials as credentials to the employees or the contractors rather. When they use different fields or when they use the different identities credentials to log into the system, then we need to create some custom fields. For example, if the default SSO ID is there, if they want to add on something called company's email address, personal email address is a built-in field by default comes in. If they need to add a company's email address field, then we need to add the custom field there. That's one of the examples. We'll be having a whole lot of requirements. As per the requirement, we can go ahead and create the custom fields. I'm gonna show you how we do it. I'm just explaining. Let's go ahead and try that once. Sec would be boring for you guys. Just to hear the theory. Let's see this. We saw about all these things. If we go to the SOW type, we find the different types of SOW that's been created. This is where the SOW template creation starts. They've called it as sourcing. We have got the template configuration here. Under the template configuration, we have got many of the fields that we discussed. Many of the fields that we have discussed. Own SPC code. This is the code from the ERP that is exclusively for the external workforce hiring. It is defined by buyer and supplier. It can be defined by buyer alone. When they keep it as defined by buyer alone, what they do is they're not going to send the RFX request for quotation on and forth. Request for quotation or request for proposal will be happening right outside the field class once they finalize the contract. That's when they're going to create. That will be completely defined by the buyer. Supplier has no authority to make the changes he can. He can just accept or project the project that comes in, the SOW that comes in, defined by. Will it be locked? Yes, it is locked. These are locked. When it is locked, we cannot make any changes. And this one is this hidden. You cannot see this. It is there, but you cannot see it. The user cannot see it or the supplier cannot see it. These are something which is required at the ERP level. Is it a master SOW template? It is locked. Associate all business units. Creator can change adjustment group, yes or no. All this stuff is like, no, it is hidden. Adjustment group is not hidden. It's not locked. We can see that, but we cannot make the changes as creator has been set to not adjust. Define clauses and characteristics. Everything is set to optional. They are not using any specific in requirement. They are using all general and requirement. Here comes the SW rules. Most of the SOW rules will be hidden because template will be completely filled with information. Who is who will? Who will like that? To just go on reading everything. They're going to hide most of the things that is not required. On with. These are the complete SOW rules. By default, it comes in. We need to set the requirements accordingly. While you're creating, you can create the type. You can create template contract. This is the configuration of a template, not the creation of the template. See this. This is something which we have to do way before creation of a template. This is the type. This is the SOW type under which you are going to create and set the rules as per the requirement. For this, you need to get the required info, the requirements from the buying organization to which we are implementing. It is to set things or to create things. It is not a big deal. We can go ahead, we can create. This is just the configuration. As per the configuration, the templates that's been assigned to will work. Combine details clauses practice accept. If you want yes, you can make it yes. If not, no, and then these are some of the custom fields that you want. To lock it or unlock, that's completely left to the buying company. SPC code. This is coming from ERP. It is optional. If you want to lock it, you can lock it. Defined by whom you're defined to. It's buyer and supplier, or is it only the buyer that is in the description of the buying company defined by? Can it be locked on the statement of work? In the sense now we can say buyer and supplier. Can that be changed in the statement of work? Yes or no? That is the requirement from the buyer. Once we gather the information, we have got all the information right here to implement that. Is this master's fold template? Yes or no? When it is master, we get allow when child's folio budget exceeds the master's fold budget. There are certain things which, as a consultant, we need to let them know. In the sense, all this stuff will not be known to the buying company. We as a consultant will be explaining. We are going to first understand what they want, what they have in mind, but we are going to recommend what is best for the business by understanding the business. Although when child's fold exceeds the master's folder budget, it is something which we don't recommend. We go ahead and set it to prevent. When the child's for is it used to create non-billable statement of work. when we set it as non-billable. If we set it as non-billable, there is no payment part coming into the picture. Associate all the business units. Is it required or not? Is FOFU being used across business units? Creator can change that adjustment group. Can he do it or not? Adjustment group is something which creators should not be able to do if they are working on a specific template. If not, yes, they can change it if it is for the general purpose. We have got the clauses and characteristics. Clauses and the characteristics in the template. The definition, do we have to use it or not? We can define it in the template as well, even if it is not being set or even it is not being configured right here. For example, if it is clauses, we can set it to optional. If we set it to optional, the clauses can be used or cannot be, can even not be used. It depends upon the requirements again and the management events. We can even set it to do not use completely. When we set it to do not use, there will be no usage at all altogether. If it is set to optional for most of the companies, clauses will be a mandatory part for the specific project. For specific templates, it is mandatory, and for some, the general purpose. We can make it optional management events. If they are using it, they can. We can keep it under optional schedules. It depends upon how they are making the payments. Is it based on schedules or is it based on events fees? Do we need to mention it in SOW? Yes, that can be set as mandatory or it can be set to optional when they are creating non-billable SOWs as well. Then the SWB workers should be kept to the mandatory SWB rules. We were talking about this, and yes, if you see this in the system, you will get an idea of the complete SWB rules that we have got. This allows approval of items when maximum budget is exceeding. This is one of the things which we have to set it to, yes, to have the internal control in the budgeting. The maximum budget is exceeding. Is it exceeding for the SOW that's been created, or is it exceeded for the cost object altogether? That depends upon the buyer's requirement. Auto-respond normally set to no skip collaboration. Collaboration is something. When we add the collaborator, the creator creates the SOW. Collaborator is someone who can review it for those reviewing purposes. We add the collaborator. By adding the collaborator comes into the picture. He reviews it and posts his approval itself. The proceedings moves further. Auto-calculate. The maximum budget should be set to yes. This is something which is FiledGlass providing. The maximum budget is like it combines all the child SOW budget in the master SOW created by the master SOW. Surpass budget amount from supplier. The budget amount from supplier is like the supplier in the request for quotation, he provides a budget. Can we surpass that, or is it to surpass that for the buyer? We need to get that understanding. Allow assistance for SOW creation is like when we can set it to yes, it is the assistance by the MSPs. If they don't want in the creation process to involve SOW MSP team, then it's set to no. Can the discount be defined in the SOW? Can we allow multiple suppliers, allow multiple currencies? SOW revision approval are required only when the maximum budget is increased. Normally, civil revision needs to be. We need to have the approval. That's what we are going to recommend them to have, because SOW revision happens if they want to have their internal control over what is happening. Everything needs to go to the approval when it is revised. Yes, it has to go to the approval. Fast SOW revision should be kept to no. Allow suppliers to initiate a statement of work revision. It should be set to no, though it is buyer and supplier defined by buyer and supplier. It should be in the hands of buyer to make the changes like revisions. That should be set to no. There are certain things which we recommend and there are certain things which we need to get the understanding from the buying company. SOW revision approval required only when the maximum budget is increased. Allow supplier to specify. Supplier can do this plant on the line later. Why he can do this is because a supplier is one who is serving for that particular site. A particular site might contain numerous locations. Auto invoice all the characteristics. Timesheet X mansheet. We recommend it too. Yes, if it is a billable project that they are doing. Can supplier change the amount prior to the invoicing, the schedule that should be set or not? Some can set to can reduce. Many of the companies will not agree for. Can reduce or increase. Supplier can reduce, but it cannot increase. That's what companies try to go with. Can supplier create multiple events from the single event? Not problem to set it to. Yes, it is the events it is. It is completely left to the supplier to have the multiple events from the single event. That's not a problem because each event that's been created is very important for the buyer. The multiple events, the sub-events that being created by the single event, one particular event, it doesn't matter. It is to simplify the service company is trying to simplify the event and they are trying to accomplish the task. That is not a problem for the buying company. Used hierarchical events. Yes, can be used. This is something which just simplifies the deliverables for the supplier, and it is. It is understandable to the buyer as well. Enable holdback. This holdback is like it is normally set to no. It's normally set to no because it is like holding back the SOW company. It is normally set to no in many cases. But some of the companies, they might express that there are chances that we can hold back. There are more chances that we can hold back. That's when it is set to yes, and all this locks over here and this hide or unhide in the template can be done. Now with the form and the details. That's the template configuration. Form and the details. In the template configuration, is this creator defines SOW name? Yes or no? SOW name. Normally what happens is like in some cases, from the master's SOW template they're going to inherit, it should be normally set to yes because they will be creating the different projects. If it is a specific one, not a problem, as template will be created from the template they inherit. If it is a standalone or if it is a general purpose SOW, then it should be defined as yes, name should, whether the name should be same or it should be locked or not. This option just enables or disables it. It should be locked. Description should be locked and defined by can be seen. Description should be seen name as must and should, and hence we don't have the option to hide it. Descriptions even can be seen, but some of the companies might want to hide it. Buyer reference multiple classifications plans. See, these are all the things which we can hide it or even lock it. The accounting part. When it comes to the accounting part, we have got all the accounting stuff here that starts from the maximum budget. Whether it needs to be locked or not. When it is locked, it is very certain that you're not going to make any changes to it. When it is not, you can make the changes. Budgets, normally they'll try to lock it. If they lock it, they're going to revise it, if at all, if they want to make the changes. Will that be seen in the SOW or not can be decided as continuous with SWW. Coordinators can be added from the buying company. We have got now the rules that can be set that we spoke about. These rules will completely define how the SOW process may design. How SOW process can be designed in complete and incomplete terms. Suppress budget from suppliers. Suppress budget from budget. Amount from supplier. Allow user fees with workers. Allow suppliers to select approvers or events. Auto-response. These are all the things that's the normal rules that needs to be set within the SOW cancer player separate absences. Whether these rules needs to be seen or not and whether this needs to be locked or not is something which we have to decide based upon the requirement. But it is self-explanatory. We can understand what can be done and what not. Whenever you get any of the things that's been not correct, it says the name field cannot be locked. When the creator defines the SW name, it's set to yes. When creator defines the SW, it's set to yes. If the name is locked, he cannot make the changes at all. Description can be locked or cannot be because that the creator is defining it. We don't have to. Whether all these things can be seen in the SW view or not. Many of the things are not required for the buyer or the supplier. Those things which are not required, those things which needs to be kept undisclosed can be set to hide it. This is a review on Subweb. This is something which we have created in the first 2 steps. Starts from type description. We can view everything that's being defined in log, turn log, SOW rules, revision rules, artistic rules. See for all those things. It's the functional stuff which comes into the picture. We need to understand the functionalities. We need to understand the functionalities of the field class and its terminologies, and we need to understand the business requirements from the bio. By doing that, we can easily decide what needs to be input, what can be seen, and what should not be submitted. By this, I'm going to submit. By submitting this, a new SOW type will be created, and this SOW type will be used in the process of creating a template. It is in complete terms. Creation is not a challenge. The technicalities of creation is not a challenge. This is when it comes to the implementation. More than the technical part, it's the functional stuff that you need to understand. If someone who worked with MSPs, if someone who have worked with probably the administration part of SOW, at least they would be having that idea. But yes, if it is an implementation project, it's not like one or two who will be handling it. There will be a lot of people. There will be seniors who will be coordinating with the buyers. That's when juniors will understand what should be done. I'm going to cancel it. I'm not going to create that, but yes, even creating is not a problem, and then we can go ahead and delete it. Similarly, they have used 3 here. The other one is standard this. This comes from the FiledGlass itself. You can go through this. Try to understand any one of them. Probably you know it will. This will be clear for you guys. If you want, you can go through 2 of them and see how it's defined, template, configuration, clauses and characteristics, SOW rules. Now that we are quite familiar with the terminologies, you can understand this. This lock, what does this lock mean? What is this undisclosure mean? It is something quite simple. I would say it is more than everything. It's the functionality that we need to understand here. Go through this. This is the task for you guys. Go through this, understand this, try to understand. This is the SW type. Now I go to SOW template. SOW templates are created as per the requirement. The type here defines the SOW type that's being used. This is the standard SOW type. I'm going to open the SOW review template. You can completely see. These are the custom piece that's being created. Characteristic rules, SOW worker rules. Whatever you see there in the type, the most of things will be inherited from there. You want to create a name. Go ahead and create, select the type. There are 3 types. That's being defined here. The 3 types are defined because they're using these characteristics, these rules for the different purposes. For different purposes, they're using different set of rules, different set of characteristics. That's the reason we have different types here. I'm going to select any one of them, name it. I can give the description here. Description in the sense it's a project description, any kind of project description. Such we can give it here. Defined by it has come up here. It has populated here. Where is it coming from? See, this is from this S4 view type. The type that have been selected. have selected this type as sourcing. At the time of the creation, in the creation process itself, in the type creation process itself, it's being clearly defined. Let me go back there. I went into sourcing. Now I'll go to sourcing. I'll see what it's been defined. It's defined by supplier. Can it be seen? Yes, it can be seen. It's not been locked. It's not being locked. I can make the changes. It's not being hidden and I can see that there. All this is set to optional. Of course, I see it there. There are certain things which been locked. I cannot make the changes for those and many are hidden here because see, when it comes to the budget part, when it comes to the SOW rules, it will not be visible there in the template. They don't need to understand what is SOW rules, what is revision rules, characteristic rules. See, all these rules doesn't need to be seen in the template and hence it's being all hidden. It's all hidden here. See clause library. We can maintain the clause library. The clause libraries are the laws that is governing to the temporary workers by region and by the company as well. If we can set the class library here, if events is used, event library and event hierarchy comes into the picture. We have got fee library. A fee is used. Normally what happens? If they are using the rate codes and rate rates, I'll explain the rate structure when we get into that. If they're using that, they don't use the fees library. Rather, they go with the rate structure. They'll select the rate structure. Management event library. If they want to maintain this management event library, they'll go ahead and do that. Questions library. It's the same explanation. I'm just trying to show where you find things and how you can create. The questions are exclusive for SOW bid because that's where the questions needs to be answered. No doubt, when the bid is sent, the creator can go ahead and ask the question type in the question and ask it. However, these are built in. When this is built in, very common questions can be created here that he is not going to waste time. He is going to just put it across to get the answer. We saw the SWOT type and SWOT template. We saw the SWOT worker, the roles, the different roles that we see. These are the roles that the SWOT workers will be having. No other role apart from the roles that we set here. For each role, we need to have the suppliers that are supporting to those roles. How they do this? We can create the role. We can create the role and add it when, once added, we can add the suppliers into the role. The suppliers, those are supporting those roles to be filled up. Schedule library. If they are using it, they can. You can go ahead and create the schedule library if they're using any schedules as such, but yes, if they're paying on the schedule terms to the supplier. But yes, whether it is schedule management, events fee. It all depends upon the buying company, whether they want it or not. This completes the SOW module. We understood how it functions. We understood how it is configured. We understood some of the major roles and fields that needs to be set in. All you need to do is get into the system and get some idea about it done. The remaining things you know because we need to understand that from the buyer company. It's been set up like this in one particular company. It can be marginally different in other company, but not completely different because when it comes to the basic functionalities, on top of it, some of the custom functionalities will also be matching with many of the companies. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.